Karl Marx, born in 1818, was a German philosopher, economist, and revolutionary. His ideas, forged during a time of burgeoning industrial capitalism in Europe, cast a long and influential shadow on the 20th century. The Industrial Revolution, while bringing progress, also created stark social inequalities. Marx, witnessing this disparity, dedicated his life to critiquing capitalism and advocating for a classless society. Marx's most famous work, co-authored with Friedrich Engels, is the Communist Manifesto. Published in 1848, this fiery pamphlet called for the overthrow of the capitalist system. It proclaimed, "Workers of the world, unite! You have nothing to lose but your chains." This powerful message resonated with many who felt exploited by the industrial system. Marx spent much of his life in exile, living in poverty in London. He devoted himself to writing and research, producing a vast body of work that included Das Kapital, a critique of capitalism. His theories, though complex and often contradictory, provided the intellectual framework for communist movements around the world. Marx died in 1883, but his ideas, fueled by the flames of revolution, would go on to ignite some of the most significant political and social upheavals in human history. His theories became the gospel for revolutionaries like Lenin, Stalin, Mao, and Castro, who sought to build societies based on his vision. Marxism, at its core, rests on three interconnected pillars: materialism, class struggle, and communism. These concepts, though presented as scientific truths by Marx, are deeply flawed and have led to disastrous consequences when implemented. Marx's materialism claims that all historical events are driven by economic forces. He believed that the mode of production, such as feudalism or capitalism, determines the social, political, and intellectual life of a society. Class struggle, according to Marx, is the inevitable conflict between the bourgeoisie, the owners of capital, and the proletariat, the working class. He argued that capitalism is inherently exploitative. The bourgeoisie, driven by profit, extract surplus value from the labor of the proletariat, creating an irreconcilable antagonism. Communism, in Marx's vision, is the final stage of history. It is a classless society achieved through a proletarian revolution that abolishes private property and establishes collective ownership of the means of production. In this utopian state, the state would wither away, and everyone would contribute according to their abilities and receive according to their needs. These core tenets of Marxism, though presented as a scientific analysis of history and society, are fundamentally flawed. They ignore the complexities of human nature, the importance of individual freedom, and the role of ideas and culture in shaping human destiny. Marx's theories, while appealing to some, have proven to be a recipe for tyranny and economic ruin. Marx's ideas, though influential in intellectual circles, did not immediately translate into political power. It was left to a new generation of revolutionaries, inspired by his vision of a classless society, to put his theories into practice. Vladimir Lenin, the leader of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, was the first to establish a Marxist state. Lenin, adapting Marx's ideas to the conditions of early 20th century Russia, created a highly centralized one-party state. Joseph Stalin, Lenin's successor, transformed the Soviet Union into a totalitarian dictatorship. He implemented a brutal system of collectivized agriculture and forced industrialization. Millions perished in famines and labor camps as Stalin sought to create a socialist utopia. In China, Mao Zedong led the Communist Party to victory in 1949. Mao, inspired by Marx and Lenin, launched the Great Leap Forward, a disastrous attempt to collectivize agriculture and rapidly industrialize China. This led to one of the deadliest famines in human history, claiming tens of millions of lives. Fidel Castro, leading the Cuban Revolution in 1959, established a communist regime in the Caribbean. Castro's Cuba, though achieving some social reforms, suffered from economic stagnation and political repression under his rule. These Marxist leaders, though claiming to act in the name of the proletariat, created systems of unparalleled oppression and brutality. Their regimes stand as a stark warning against the dangers of utopian ideology and the allure of absolute power. Section 4. The Grim Harvest, Economic Devastation, under Marxist Regimes. The implementation of Marxist ideas in the 20th century resulted in widespread economic devastation. From the forced collectivization of agriculture to the abolition of private property, these policies led to famine, stagnation, and widespread poverty. The Soviet Union, once an agricultural powerhouse, became heavily reliant on grain imports under Stalin's collectivized system. China's Great Leap Forward, intended to propel the country into an industrial powerhouse, instead resulted in a catastrophic famine that killed millions. The abolition of private property and the forced collectivization of farms destroyed incentives for production. Cuba, once a prosperous Caribbean nation, saw its economy stagnate under Castro's communist rule. The nationalization of industries and the imposition of a centrally planned economy stifled innovation and entrepreneurship. Venezuela, under Hugo Chavez and his successor Nicolas Maduro, embraced a socialist model inspired by Marxist ideas. The nationalization of key industries and the implementation of price controls led to hyperinflation, food shortages, and economic collapse. These examples demonstrate the inherent flaws of Marxist economic policies. By attempting to abolish private property and control the means of production, these regimes stifle innovation, destroy incentives, and ultimately impoverish their populations. Section 5. Fatal Flaws: Why Marxist Economies Crumble. The economic failures of Marxist regimes can be attributed to fundamental flaws in their underlying ideology. Marxism's flawed assumptions about human nature, its disregard for market forces, and its concentration of power in the hands of the state all contribute to its economic downfall. First, Marxism fails to recognize the importance of individual incentives. By abolishing private property and guaranteeing equality of outcome, Marxist systems remove the motivation for hard work, innovation, and risk-taking. When individuals are not rewarded for their efforts, productivity declines, and economic stagnation sets in. Second, Marxist economies ignore the vital role of market forces in allocating resources efficiently. Central planning, the cornerstone of Marxist economics, proves to be a dismal failure. Without the price signals and competition of a free market, central planners are unable to make informed decisions about production and consumption, leading to shortages, surpluses, and inefficiencies. Finally, Marxism's concentration of power in the hands of the state creates a breeding ground for corruption and abuse. Without the checks and balances of a democratic system, communist leaders become unaccountable to the people they rule. This concentration of power leads to cronyism, inefficiency, and the suppression of individual rights. These inherent flaws explain why Marxist economies inevitably crumble. They are based on a utopian vision that ignores the realities of human nature and the fundamental principles of economics. Section 6. The specter still haunts Marxism's lingering influence in the 21st century. Despite its historical failures, Marxism continues to exert a lingering influence on modern politics and intellectual discourse. The allure of its utopian vision, its critique of social inequality, and its appeal to certain academic circles ensure that its ideas continue to be debated and, in some cases, revived. In academic circles, particularly in the humanities and social sciences, Marxist theory remains a subject of study and debate. Its concepts of class struggle, historical materialism, and capitalist exploitation are often used to analyze a wide range of social and cultural phenomena. Politically, while Marxist parties are no longer major forces in most Western democracies, their ideas have influenced various leftist and socialist movements. Concerns about income inequality, corporate power, and globalization have led some to revisit Marxist critiques of capitalism. Moreover, in developing countries grappling with poverty, inequality, and the legacies of colonialism, Marxist ideas continue to resonate. The promise of social justice and economic equality holds a powerful appeal, even as the historical failures of Marxist regimes serve as a cautionary tale. While Marxism's utopian vision remains alluring to some, it is crucial to remember its disastrous legacy. The 20th century stands as a stark reminder of the dangers of embracing an ideology that promises equality at the expense of freedom and prosperity. As we navigate the challenges of the 21st century, we must learn from the mistakes of the past and embrace solutions that uphold individual liberty, economic freedom, and the rule of law. Only then can we hope to create a more just and prosperous world for all.